Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. Our stories today: a historic meeting in the Netherlands. President Donald Trump attending the NATO summit today. More on his comments on the effectiveness of U.S. strikes against Iran and NATO's new 5% defense spending target. Most Democrats joined Republicans to oppose impeaching Trump over the Iran strikes. Lawmakers will have a classified intelligence briefing on the developments this week. The Trump administration sued 15 Maryland federal judges yesterday for limiting deportation efforts. Kilmar Abrego Garcia returned to the U.S. from El Salvador, facing a judge today. The charges involve an alleged smuggling ring. A surprise upset in New York City. Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani declares victory in the Democratic primary for mayor.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. A high-stakes NATO summit is underway in the Netherlands, with President Trump taking center stage. Trump praised recent U.S. airstrikes on Iran, saying they helped defuse tensions with Israel and even drew comparisons to World War II. NTD's international correspondent, Elisa Warner, reports from the Netherlands.
NATO leaders gathered in the Netherlands for a historic two-day summit. At a preliminary conference, President Trump lauded U.S. strikes on Iran, claiming they halted the Israel-Iran conflict. But some news outlets allege a leaked early classified U.S. intelligence report concluded the strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months. Trump discussed the strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities following the coverage.
Yeah, well, they said it was actually the report said it could have been they don't know. I mean, they did a report. I could have Pete talk to it because his department did the report. We hear it was obliteration. It was a virtual obliteration.
The president compared the strike to the atomic bombs dropped on Japan during World War II.
Had we not succeeded with that hit ended the war. That hit ended the war.
Trump added that the strikes had a deterrent effect and suggested a shift in Tehran's posture.
The last thing they want to do is enrich anything right now. They want to recover. And we won't let that happen. Number one, militarily we won't. I think we'll end up having somewhat of a relationship with Iran.
Addressing media at the end of the NATO summit, Trump said, quote, "We think the fighting is over."
We think it's over. I don't think they're going to be going back at each other. I don't think so. Not only have we dealt decisively with the critical threat of Iran's nuclear program, which was what I wanted. I said, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've said that for 15 years, long before I decided to do the political thing. But we've also reasserted the credibility of American deterrence, which is like no other.
While security concerns about Iran loomed large, NATO members also took a major step on defense policy. The 32-nation alliance approved a new pledge to spend 5% of GDP annually on core defense and security needs. That's in response to a demand by Trump and to Europeans' fears that Russia poses an increasingly direct threat to their security following the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Trump discussed the increase before the vote.
I've been asking them to go up to 5% for a number of years, and they're going up to 5%. That's a big... from 2%. And a lot of people didn't even pay the 2%.
The president also reflected on America's commitment to stand by its NATO allies in the event of an attack.
We're with them all the way. I mean, if you take a look at the numbers, we're with them.
On the sidelines of the summit, Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He said he didn't discuss a ceasefire with Zelensky, but will speak to Russia President Vladimir Putin about ending the war in Ukraine. Trump said the U.S. and Iran would hold talks next week. He said the U.S. would continue to ask for no nuclear. Reporting from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, Elisa Warner, NTD News.
NATO leaders endorsed a big new defense spending target at the summit in The Hague today, as demanded by President Trump. Here are some key points about the new target.
War is always changing as technology advances. And in a bid to increase their country's defence capabilities, NATO leaders have endorsed a big new spending target at a summit in The Hague. NATO members will aim to spend 5% of their economic output on defence, a big increase on the current goal of 2% agreed at a 2014 summit. That's 3.5% of their GDP on core defence, such as troops and weapons, and 1.5% on broader defence and security-related investments, such as cybersecurity, protecting energy pipelines and adapting infrastructure for military vehicles. Hitting these targets could eventually mean spending hundreds of billions of dollars more a year. Doubling down on cyber investment is one of the ways to improve the alliance's defence. That's according to Benjamin Jensen, an international relations and security specialist.
So I think the biggest challenge for NATO on the horizon is the intersection of the low cost of shooting waves and waves of long-range attack drones alongside rapid targeting adjustment using AI and offensive cyber. Russia has proven it will attack NATO member states with cyber any time of the day.
And money could be used strategically. Due to technology, he said, low-cost systems like $1,000 drones can now destroy high-cost assets like planes.
In the ideal case, we would have entire NATO drone brigades like what we see in actually Ukraine, but maybe manned by a multinational battalion or battle group.
Moscow's continued war in Ukraine is one reason, along with concerns about a possible future threat from Russia. That's alongside pressure from US President Donald Trump to boost investment. Europe's preparing for the possibility that Washington will withdraw some of its troops and capabilities. Targets are expected to be met in 2035, but can also be adjusted when they're reviewed in 2029.
Lawmakers overwhelmingly reject a move to impeach President Trump over the Iran strikes. This after an intelligence briefing was delayed. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the updates.
128 Democrats voted with Republicans to table an impeachment attempt. Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, one who voted with Republicans, explained why the effort is moot.
That's a big threshold to cross, I would say to them. That don't be, again, we can't ignore what is at stake, which is our national security for to make sure Iran does not have a nuclear weapon.
The impeachment resolution they blocked was introduced by Congressman Al Green, who argued that because Trump failed to get Congress's approval before making the strikes on Iran, he violated the War Powers Act. That's the same argument we've heard from other critics. Others also called for Trump's impeachment, like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who Trump has been battling with online over the past few days. Listen to what Congressman Al Green, the author of this resolution to impeach, said on the House floor ahead of the vote to table it.
Congressional leaders were not appropriately briefed or notified of the attack plans, despite foreign leaders being given advance notice of the planned U.S. military action.
Now, Republicans were anticipating Democrats to force a vote like this. House Speaker Mike Johnson yesterday expressed outrage at the suggestions that Trump's decisions with the Iran strikes are an impeachable offense. He also took aim at the War Powers Act of 1973, questioning of whether or not it was constitutional to begin with.
Might have made some sense in 1973, but I'm not even sure it was constitutional, and I'll tell you about that as well. Many respected constitutional experts argue that the War Powers Act is itself unconstitutional.
Now, Speaker Johnson has also confirmed that lawmakers will be briefed on the Iran developments this Friday. This is after it was postponed yesterday, causing uproar among lawmakers who say it's necessary for Congress to be in the loop on what's next. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Israel says the strikes have set back Iran's nuclear program by years. An army spokesperson said today that one of the biggest achievements during the 12-day conflict was the damage done to Iranian proxies in the region. Listen.
One of our biggest achievements in this operation is the damage inflicted to the proxy network around us. They spent years building a ring of fire around Israel. We see their inactivity during this operation, and we're monitoring their activity, and we're ready. I'm prepared to say here that the assessment is that we have dealt a significant blow to the nuclear program, and I can say we have set it back by years.
The White House shared a statement on behalf of the Israel Atomic Energy Commission. It says the U.S. strike destroyed Iran's Fordow nuclear facility and rendered it inoperable. It says the U.S. strike, quote, set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons by many years. This achievement can continue indefinitely if Iran does not get access to nuclear material. Iran is suspending its cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Iran's parliament speaker added that Iran's nuclear program would accelerate following U.S. and Israeli strikes. Today, the head of UN nuclear watchdog stressed the need for Tehran to re-engage. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi said his priority is getting inspectors back to Iran's nuclear facilities to assess the damage and verify its stocks of enriched uranium. Grossi said access was the agency's #1 priority at an Austrian security cabinet meeting.
I don't think this would help anybody, starting with Iran. This would lead to isolation, all sorts of problems, and why not? Perhaps, if not the unraveling, a very, very, very serious erosion in the NPT structure.
Iranian state media reported that Parliament approved a bill today to suspend cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog. The move would need the final approval of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. Iran's parliament speaker said the IAEA has undermined its international credibility. President Trump said today that the Iranian Fordow nuclear site has been obliterated, saying the U.S. has since collected additional intelligence and has spoken with people who have seen the site. And just moments ago, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said new intelligence confirms Trump's statements, saying the sites have been destroyed. And joining us now to discuss is Dr. Rebecca Grant, Vice President, Lexington Institute and National Security Analyst. Good afternoon, Dr. Grant. First of all, your comments here on the initial leaked Pentagon report, as well as what kind of destruction would you expect from bunker buster munitions hitting a nuclear facility like Fordow?
All signs show that the huge munitions dropped by the B-2 bomber really did their job. They hit right where they were supposed to. And as the UN has now confirmed for us, this facility at Fordow has been obliterated. On top of that, remember, 2 of the massive ordnance penetrators were dropped on another site at Natanz, where there was a uranium conversion facility, and that is wiped out too. So the big takeaway here is that right now, Iran's nuclear program is inoperable. The nuclear bomb program is gone.
And the president also said today that he believes Iran's uranium couldn't have been moved in time. And he also said it's very hard and dangerous to move. What will it take to get tangible evidence showing that it's been destroyed?
So many interesting comments from President Trump as he was welcomed to the NATO summit. That also really caught my eye. I think he's implying that the highly enriched material, the site at Fordow, was the place that they enriched up to the 83%, which was just so close to being at the 90% for weapons grade. They had some other stocks as well. We've all been wondering what happened to the material at Fordow, and President Trump has strongly implied that it was in that underground facility. The 12 massive ordnance penetrators entered and created an enormous fire underground. And that to me means that material is still stuck there. In terms of evidence, you know, they're never going to show us all the evidence that they have. But in addition to satellite imagery, I think there's a lot of intelligence work from us and from the Israelis and maybe others that tells us what really has happened to that site. I'm sure they're seeing that Iran is not going up there. I mean, they're not up there with shovels trying to get at it. And presumably, maybe there it stays, and much better there than moving towards an Iranian nuclear weapon.
And what does this operation tell us about the value of manned power, air power, that is?
Well, no other airplane in the world could have done this. No other nation could have done this. And I'm so glad that America had, you know, we have just 19 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers. We're building the B-21, which is to be its replacement. The B-21 is flown. There should be a few of them on the production line right now. But we only have 19 of these. And what an incredible testament to the air crews who flew that mission and the many that supported them, that they were able to go and do that and do it so precisely. It's the first time that an emergent nuclear power has been destroyed with air power. And I am so glad that we had that in the United States Air Force, the ability to end that nuclear weapons program in Iran and to make the region and the whole world safer as a result.
And just to follow up, Dr. Grant, can you talk to us about the importance of what you just said in the context of rising tensions between China and Taiwan? Because Mark Rutte has just said that the risk of conflict over Taiwan is in fact growing.
And it's a great sign that NATO, the Secretary General, is aware of the risks of China. That wasn't as true several years ago. You know, today there is actually a British aircraft carrier in the Pacific, along with our U.S. aircraft carrier. And that shows you how much our NATO allies are really aware of the threat of China. The B-2 strike on the deeply buried targets in Iran proves what the U.S. Air Force has always said they could do, hold critical targets at risk. And believe me, that means if it came to it, China's targets as well, whether that is their anti-satellite weapon out in the desert, some of their missiles. You know, this has got to remind China's military that they are not safe from the B-2 bomber, and that is tremendous for deterrence, and that should really give them pause about undertaking any military operations around the area of Taiwan.
And Dr. Grant, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so just to conclude our conversation today, maybe what are the main lessons learned from the U.S. strike on Iran?
That we must have precision, stealth, long-range air power, you know, for the good of the world, and that we must have the resolve to use it in this very limited, very precise campaign. It's a wonderful tool that really has evolved just in the last couple of decades. It is a tool for peace. It is going to be needed now more than ever as we strive to not only deal with Russia, but to contain the ambitions of China, and of course, always to keep an eye on North Korea too.
Okay, Dr. Grant, thank you so much today.
Thank you.
Coming up, the Trump administration sued 15 Maryland federal judges yesterday for limiting deportation efforts. We have that story and more when we come back.
Inflation is still driving up home repair costs. How are millions of homeowners saving money on unexpected bills? With Choice Home Warranty.
Is a new refrigerator in your budget? How about a replacement AC unit? I'm Ty Pennington. For many families, these costs can be catastrophic. That's why I'm a Choice Home Warranty customer. They've saved millions of homeowners from unexpected repair bills with an affordable monthly plan that provides peace of mind and helps avoid surprise expenses. Call now to protect your home with Choice Home Warranty and get your first month free.
Choice Home Warranty offers plans that cover repair or replacement on up to 25 essential home systems and appliances. Protect your budget with a customizable Choice Home Warranty.
We've been a Choice Home Warranty customer for almost 9 years.
And we couldn't be more happy with their service that we get from Choice Home Warranty.
Unexpected home repairs can quickly eat into your savings. It wastes time and fills you with stress. Choice Home Warranty is the most trusted name in home warranty. Call now to lock in a low monthly rate.
Choice Home Warranty has a nationwide network of more than 25,000 trusted technicians. When I have a breakdown, they always have the right contractor to get me taken care of quickly. I just pay a low monthly fee and they pay for the covered repairs.
Choice Home Warranty has been a great company to work with, and they've taken care of us. I would suggest anybody who lives in a home not to be in a home without them.
It's time to protect your hard-earned money with an affordable plan from Choice Home Warranty. Call right now for the peace of mind you and your family deserve. Call Choice Home Warranty now.
Protect your home and your wallet with Choice Home Warranty. Call now to get a free quote, your first month free, and save $10 a month for the first year. Call 800-983-4585, 800-983-4585, or go to choicehome.com.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Might not see it coming.
It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
The Department of Justice is suing the entire Maryland Federal District Court bench, which includes 15 judges. NTD's Arlene Richards breaks down the details.
In a lawsuit filed on Tuesday, the Department of Justice chastised 15 Maryland federal court judges for allegedly using and abusing their judicial powers to interfere with executive branch decisions. The lawsuit, filed in the same district court where the judges preside, claims that 2 court orders require the court clerk to automatically enter an injunction against removing any alien detained in Maryland who challenges their detention. The department claims in its filing that the automatic injunction issues whether or not the alien needs or seeks emergency relief, whether or not the court has jurisdiction over the alien's claims, and no matter how frivolous the alien's claims may be. It says district courts don't have the authority to challenge or block the executive office from carrying out removal orders. And these standing orders violate congressional limits on district courts' jurisdiction in immigration matters. The automatic injunction also applies to any actions that seek to change the legal status of any alien. The government states that even immigration judges are barred from proceeding with cases that include removal orders. They're seeking a judgment that declares the orders violate the limitations on district courts' jurisdiction and to block them from enforcing the orders. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Zohran Mamdani, the 33-year-old New York State lawmaker and self-described Democratic Socialist, declared victory in New York City's Democratic mayoral primary. That's as former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo concedes. Here's more.
It's a surprising upset over former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who had been seeking a political comeback 4 years after resigning amid sexual harassment allegations. But in brief remarks to supporters, the 67-year-old conceded the race to Mamdani and said he had called to congratulate him. Tonight is his night, he said. Mamdani, a self-described Democratic Socialist, holds a state assembly seat in New York's Queens Borough and entered the mayoral race as a virtual unknown. According to the city's elections board, he was ahead of Cuomo, 43.5 to 36.4%, with nearly 95% of ballot scanners reporting. 9 other Democratic candidates trailed far behind. But Mamdani's lead in Tuesday's preliminary results appeared too large for Cuomo or any other candidate to overcome. The differences between the 2 mayoral candidates were stark. Cuomo is a moderate backed by the establishment who served a decade as governor, while Mamdani is a progressive newcomer who promises a break with the past. In the lead up to Tuesday's vote, he garnered endorsements from prominent progressives like Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Mamdani will likely be the favorite in November's general election in a city where Democrats dominate. The current mayor, Democrat Eric Adams, will also appear on the November ballot as an independent.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem met yesterday with Panama's President Jose Raul Molino, praising the country's cooperation on migration enforcement.
What Panama is doing here by these flights and returning individuals back to their home countries is something that can be perpetuated with other countries as well. The United States is more than willing to help share the cost of this in order to make sure that these countries take their responsibility seriously to accept their citizens back home.
Secretary Noem said Panama's repatriation efforts, combined with U.S. policy, have sharply reduced the flow of migrants through the Darien Gap. That is a treacherous jungle region linking Panama and Colombia. Noem observed a deportation flight from Panama to Colombia as part of her visit, the first stop on a multi-nation tour through Central America. Her trip will continue with stops in Costa Rica, Honduras, and Guatemala. In a social media post, Noem also said Panama has been a strong partner in preventing drug cartels from reaching U.S. soil. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is due back in court today. The Salvadorian national was returned from his home country to face criminal charges in the U.S. Garcia is accused of conspiring with at least 5 other members of a smuggling ring to bring immigrants to the U.S. illegally. On Sunday, a judge ruled that the Trump administration could not continue to detain him. The court is set to hold a bail hearing in Tennessee today to set the conditions of his release from jail. The judge acknowledged that even if Garcia is released from pretrial detention, he likely would be taken into immigration custody. Immigration officials previously said Garcia would be deported again after completing his sentence in the U.S. Florida has begun building a new illegal immigration detention center described by state officials as low cost and efficient, thanks in part to its remote Everglades location. Nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz by Florida's Attorney General, the facility is being set up on a little-used airstrip surrounded by marshes and swamps. The area is home to wildlife, including panthers, crocodiles, and alligators, which officials say will act as a natural deterrent. Governor Ron DeSantis invoked emergency powers Tuesday to expedite the project. The site will feature light infrastructure, mainly tents and trailers, and is expected to begin housing detainees by the first week of July. The Florida National Guard will be deployed to help operate the facility. A federal judge has indefinitely blocked President Trump's executive order to end collective bargaining rights for many federal workers. A coalition of unions representing nearly 1 million federal workers requested the preliminary injunction. Yesterday's decision clashes with the ruling from a federal appeals court in May, which lifted a different judge's block on the order. That case pertained to another union's members. At issue was an executive order President Trump signed in March. It attempts to abolish multiple agencies' union contracts due to national security. The White House news release at the time said the order was aimed at stopping federal unions who have, quote, declared war on President Trump's agenda. The unions argued the order violated their First Amendment rights. Yesterday's ruling blocks the executive order pending a trial over its constitutionality. The Trump administration can appeal the ruling if it chooses. Boeing failed to provide adequate training and oversight to prevent the 737 MAX 9 mid-air emergency last year. That's according to a new report by the National Transportation Safety Board. Here are the details.
U.S. regulators have released their report on the mid-air blowout last year involving a Boeing 737 MAX operated by Alaska Airlines. And it won't make easy reading for the aerospace giant. The National Transportation Safety Board says Boeing failed to provide workers with the training, guidance and oversight that could have prevented the incident. In comments Tuesday, the board harshly criticised the firm's safety culture and its failure to properly install key bolts when making the jet. NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy said the incident was wholly avoidable, as the plane maker should have addressed production issues identified in internal audits going back a decade or more. She said it was nothing short of a miracle that no one was killed or seriously injured in the blowout. The accident left Boeing facing deep crisis. It prompted the Justice Department to open a criminal probe and declare that the firm was in violation of a deferred prosecution deal agreed after earlier fatal crashes. Regulators also capped output of the MAX while the company worked on improving quality. Those restrictions remain in place, crimping production of the company's best-selling model. Boeing says it regrets the incident and continues to work on strengthening safety and quality. It's redesigning the door plug that led to the blowout. Homendy praised new company chief Kelly Ortberg, but said he had his work cut out addressing all the issues. The NTSB report also criticised the Federal Aviation Administration, saying it should have been aware of problems at the firm. The FAA has now increased oversight of Boeing, after saying last year that it was too hands-off in monitoring the company.
Coming up, some officials are saying the threat of sleeper cells is higher than ever. Should people be concerned? We discuss with the former police detective after the break.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing?
what is going on. You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I am living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
As tensions with Iran continue, the U.S. arrests 11 Iranian nationals who were in the country illegally. The Department of Homeland Security says one of them has admitted to ties to Hezbollah. NTD's international correspondent, Arian Pasdar, has more.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, arrested 11 Iranian nationals illegally in the United States over the weekend. ICE also arrested a U.S. citizen who threatened to kill law enforcement while allegedly harboring an illegal immigrant from Iran. This reflects the administration's aim to keep known and suspected terrorists out of American communities. Homeland Security says that one of the individuals is a former member of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, and that he has admitted connections to the Iran-backed terrorist group Hezbollah. An immigration judge ordered his removal in June of 2022, but he remained in the U.S. illegally. A Homeland Security spokesperson reportedly says, "We have been saying we are getting the worst of the worst out, and we are. We don't wait until a military operation to execute. We proactively deliver on President Trump's mandate." Arian Pasdar, NTD News.
The threat of sleeper cells in the U.S. has never been higher, though there aren't current specific threats. This is according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And joining us now to discuss this subject is Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, former U.S. Navy officer of Naval Intelligence and former New Jersey police detective. Good afternoon, Lieutenant Rogers. So can we start with the basics here? What exactly is a sleeper cell? What do they do, and how do they operate in the United States?
Well, to begin with, we've been concerned about sleeper cells for quite some time, especially since the border was open during the Biden administration. Now, a sleeper cell is not created overnight. A sleeper cell consists of individuals who have come into this country illegally, who are well trained before they come into this country, and trained to do what? To blend in with the community. The individual that is in a sleeper cell could be a person who is in the workplace, who lives in your neighborhood. They've learned to blend in to each community by becoming school teachers, some cases police officers, In other words, there's no way on earth that you would be able to tell who would be involved in a sleeper cell. But they are well trained and they are prepared at a minute's notice to be activated, meaning that if their host country, in this case we're concerned about Iran, gives them the word to launch a terrorist attack somewhere in the United States, they will come together, they will do the planning, they will effectively do what they would want to be a successful terrorist attack anytime, any place in the United States of America. We've been concerned about this for quite some time as a result of the illegal border crossings, and now, unfortunately, what we feared the most can become a reality.
So having heard that, the immediate question would be, what are the methods authorities are using to identify a sleeper cell?
Well, certainly, I'm not going to give out all of the methods because some of them are, I'm sure, classified. But I will say this to you, that it is extremely important that we put all hands on deck. We've heard that over and over again, meaning that every single American citizen who loves this country, if they see something, they need to say something, now more than ever. And we notice that a lot of people do see a lot on the internet. They'll see certain chatter. They'll listen to people having conversations. By all means, make the call. Don't feel foolish. In addition, we have to, and I've said this over and over and over again, the national security mechanisms in this country are great. We've got terrific intelligence gathering resources. But I've got to tell you that where we lack is in training police officers on a local level, what to look for, what to report, what to be involved with when it comes to this problem regarding sleeper cells. So a lot more information has to be given to local police departments. And we may find that the local cop knows the who, what, when, where, and why on the streets in their neighborhoods more than any national security team in Washington, D.C.
In your opinion, do you think people should be concerned? Should there be any worry, for example, when going to large public events?
Well, we're always concerned, are we not? But we cannot allow the terrorists to win even before they strike. I mean, look, they want to take our freedom away, our freedom of speech, our freedom of assembly, our freedom of movement. We have to live. It's a free country. But if we're vigilant and we keep our eyes and our ears open, we may be able to prevent a lot more than what people believe can happen. And by the way, the FBI, I know, has come under a lot of criticism over the past few years, but I've worked at FBI headquarters at the National Joint Terrorism Task Force. You could thank the FBI for this country not being attacked up to this point. They're a great group of individuals working very hard night and day in conjunction with all the other law enforcement agencies around the country. I think we're pretty safe, we're pretty secure, but now it's all hands on deck.
Okay, if I may, Lieutenant Rogers, I would like to ask you about a specific, something specific. For example, New York City, right, considered potentially a top target for terrorists. How has the NYPD been trained to handle threats like sleeper cells?
Well, you haven't had any attacks yet, and we actually have seen news reports over the past couple of years that potential terrorist activity has been stopped. So they have the sophisticated equipment, they have the tools, they have the skills, they have the training, and they have the manpower to prevent terrorist attacks. May not prevent all of them, but I believe at this point they have prevented some of them, just based on some of the news reports we've received over the past few years. That's why I say we're pretty safe and secure, because we do have well-trained officers out there on the field. But NYPD is the best in the world, not just the best in the country, the best in the world when it comes to intelligence gathering information that they are able to disseminate not only nationwide but worldwide in order to prevent a potential terrorist attack.
Would you say the U.S. is better prepared now than in previous years?
Oh, absolutely. With Donald Trump becoming president of the United States and the people that he put into our national security matrix, talking about the National Security Council, his advisors, a lot safer today than we were yesterday.
Okay, just in closing, can you just reiterate your personal confidence level in the work of local, state, as well as federal law enforcement to keep our community safe during this time?
Oh, I believe now at this point, I could tell you my confidence level is extremely high. Why? Because of the conduct of our national security teams from the White House through the Pentagon, through our military and civilian intelligence agencies. They're sharing a lot of information. They're talking to intelligence agencies overseas like never before. That's why my confidence rate is very, very high. And frankly, I feel very safe at this point in time.
Well, Lieutenant Rogers, well said. Thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you.
Coming up next, Iran's defense minister landed in China today, his first trip since Israel and the U.S. struck several of the Middle Eastern countries' nuclear facilities. Despite backing Tehran following the strikes, Beijing has so far declined to provide any material support. A Chinese state broadcaster reported that Iran's defense minister is expected to meet with his counterparts from the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Member states include India, Pakistan, and Russia, among others. China's defense minister will reportedly host the meeting. Shortly after Israel attacked Iran, China condemned the strikes. Iran is an important part of China's strategic Global Belt and Road Initiative. Earlier this year, Iran participated in joint military exercises with China and Russia. However, support from the Chinese Communist Party since the strikes has been limited so far. Amid the ongoing crisis between Israel and Iran, one major player with deep ties to Tehran is watching closely, and that is China. On Sunday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged the Chinese regime to encourage Iran to close the strategic Strait of Hormuz, a vital oil passage. This raises a key question: why is the U.S. turning to China for help? Let's take a closer look at Beijing's Middle East ties and core interests in the region.
China, as the top buyer of Iranian oil, has extended a lifeline for Tehran's struggling economy. Despite U.S.'s sanctions, Beijing buys more than 90% of Iranian oil exports, accounting for roughly 12% of Iran's GDP. In return, China benefits from discounted oil prices. Iran is the second largest country in the Middle East. It joined China's Belt and Road Initiative in 2016, helping to expand China's influence in the region. In 2021, China and Iran signed a 25-year strategic pact covering economic, military, and security cooperation. China and Iran also hold regular military drills, deepening their strategic ties. The U.S. has long accused China of aiding Iran's nuclear program. This support dates back to the 1980s, when China allegedly helped build Iran's largest nuclear research center in Isfahan. China reportedly supplied Iran with materials and technology needed for nuclear weapons development. Brandon Weichart, senior national security editor at the National Interest, warned that if Iran acquires nuclear weapons, it could destabilize the region, threaten Israel and U.S. security, and trigger a nuclear arms race across the Middle East. A former senior U.S. intel officer says China and Russia view Iran's nuclear development as a way to weaken U.S. military power in the region, especially after sanctions on Russia over Ukraine. Many China analysts believe Beijing may see this as an opportunity to increase pressure on Taiwan, while the U.S. is more engaged in the Middle East conflicts.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the U.S. won't impose further sanctions on Russia as of right now. Washington still wants room to negotiate a peace deal. Rubio spoke to Politico on the sidelines of the NATO summit. He said Moscow might stop ceasefire talks if the U.S. imposes more sanctions. He added that President Trump will know the right time and place for new economic measures against Moscow. The administration is also working with Congress to make sure lawmakers allow Trump to appropriately and be flexible. The U.S. consulate in Hong Kong condemned the city for stifling U.S. Independence Day celebrations. Hong Kong education authorities reportedly warned teachers and students not to attend events marking the day. The U.S. consulate accused Hong Kong's leaders of interfering with consulate-hosted events, saying U.S. embassies and consulates worldwide celebrate Independence Day every year. In an email to the Associated Press, the consulate said Hong Kong's attempt to characterize these activities as unlawful only further reveals its insecurity and fear of freedom. The criticism came days after Facebook page EDU Lancet reported the city's education authorities asked schools not to join the events and warned them about violating the national security law. Beijing imposed that law on Hong Kong in 2020. It's been used to jail dozens of democracy activists. Fears over the law drove many families and young professionals to leave. A bipartisan House commission held a hearing yesterday on trends in transnational repression. Lawmakers and witnesses say this directly impacts people and entities on American soil. NTD's David Lam reports.
Expert witnesses testified on Tuesday about repressive tactics from foreign countries reaching into the U.S.
The FBI has improved its intake system for reporting on cases and maintains a transnational repression information page. However, there is a need for enhanced coordination between federal and local law enforcement to identify, prevent, and respond to TNR.
The Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission heard about cases originating from Pakistan, India, Brazil, Hong Kong, and China, where activists and journalists have been targeted.
We will hear testimony today about how China punishes people in the United States for speech that their government doesn't like.
According to the Commission, transnational repression, or TNR, include tactics that can be direct through killings, abductions, enforced disappearances, and unlawful removals. It also includes indirect tactics like online harassment, digital surveillance, targeting of relatives, and abuse of consular services.
The Hong Kong police have summoned family members of wanted activists for interrogation about our activities. Our family members have been surveilled and threatened.
One witness said 48 governments, about a quarter of the world's countries, have used transnational tactics in the last decade.
Although the governments of Russia, Iran, Turkey, Egypt, Uzbekistan, Rwanda, and Cambodia aggressively pursue dissidents abroad, the Chinese government remains the most prolific perpetrator of transnational repression, undertaking the world's most sophisticated and comprehensive campaign.
So I also think it's very important that we maintain and increase federal funding for organizations that have been, documenting, investigating, disrupting and exposing transnational repression in the United States.
Other solutions that panelists suggested range from less law enforcement surveillance to considering other countries' human rights violations when making policies and agreements with them. David Lam, NTD News.
Lawmakers want to ban U.S. executive agencies from using artificial intelligence models developed in China, including those from DeepSeek. The bipartisan group want to bring the bill into both House of Congress. Reuters reported earlier that a senior U.S. official concluded DeepSeek is aiding China's military and intelligence operations and has had access to large volumes of NVIDIA's chips. DeepSeek shook the technology world in January with claims it developed an AI model that rivals those from U.S. firms at much lower cost. But some U.S. companies and government agencies have banned the use of DeepSeek over data security concerns, and the Trump administration has considered banning its use on government devices. The new bill would create a permanent framework for barring the use of all Chinese AI models from U.S. executive agencies, as well as those from Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Coming up, a Maryland community came together to support a local animal shelter in crisis. The shelter urgently needed foster homes after its air conditioning broke down. We have that story and more when we return.
With almost 4 decades in the spotlight, Cindy Crawford has never lost her stunning glow. With her gorgeous, age-defying skin, U.S. Weekly says whatever she's doing, it's clearly working. How does her skin still look firm, smooth, and youthful at 59? It's meaningful beauty. And now, with new advanced formulas, it's better than ever, delivering our age-defying ingredients even deeper into the skin to fight wrinkles where they begin. Just wait until you see the difference meaningful beauty can make for you.
Instant hydration, instant plumping. My skin looks amazing.
What I'm most proud of is over 5 million women have trusted Meaningful Beauty, and they're getting great results. And I get that feedback from them in airports, supermarkets, walking down the street, and I love it.
And today, we are celebrating 20 years of Meaningful Beauty with a brand new offer you don't want to miss. You can get the entire advanced Meaningful Beauty system with all 5 age-defying super treatments. And when you order today, you'll receive our Targeted Treatment Duo, a $128 value free. Introducing the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules to target crow's feet, forehead lines, and lines around your mouth. Plus, you'll also get the new Skin Renewing Facial Tool with heat, massage, and red light to boost the absorption of the wrinkle smoothing capsules and reduce the appearance of puffiness. The Skin Renewing Facial Tool and the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules together create Meaningful Beauty's amazing targeted treatment duo.
This plus this equals incredible results.
Get all this, a $300 value for just $49.95. But you must act quickly. Results guaranteed or your money back.
If you haven't tried Meaningful Beauty yet, this new offer is something you don't want to miss.
This special offer is not available in any store, so don't wait. Scan the code, call the number below, or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9. The highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
King Charles will host President Trump for his second state visit to Britain later this year. The trip would make Trump the first elected political leader in modern times to be hosted twice by a British monarch. Buckingham Palace confirmed the trip today. The late Queen Elizabeth welcomed Trump to Buckingham Palace for a three-day state visit in June 2019 during his first term in office. That visit already put Trump in a select group of U.S. presidents. Only former presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush were afforded official state visits during Elizabeth's 70 years on the throne. The Axiom Mission 4 spacecraft blasted off today from NASA's Kennedy Space Center. The launch marked SpaceX's 18th human spaceflight. CEO Elon Musk's rocket company ushered in a new era for NASA 5 years ago. Since then, SpaceX has been providing American astronauts their first rides to space. NASA retired its space shuttle program in 2011. For India, Poland, and Hungary, the launch marked a return to human spaceflight after more than 40 years. Their astronauts will be joined by America's most experienced astronaut, Peggy Whitson. The three countries share the cost of the privately funded mission. It also kicked off their first mission sending astronauts to the International Space Station. A climber who lost his fingers and toes to frostbite on a Nepalese mountain more than 30 years ago is still at it. At age 85, he's still scaling cliffs and sharing the sport with the next generation. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
For Armando Corvini, age is less of an obstacle than the mountains he's climbed. The 85-year-old now operates his own adventure company, welcoming climbers of all ages.
Oh, well, you can see from my face. I love climbing.
Growing up, Corvini's climbing playground was the Italian Dolomites. In 1994, Corvini made his first climbs in the Himalayas. At 56, he suffered severe frostbite, resulting in the loss of 9 fingers and all his toes. Now 85, Corvini sees his life in chapters.
I got my own style of climbing. My hands are very strong. I've got very strong hands. I think that I had 2 lives. My life when I was very strong, very gaming, nothing would stop me. And then the second life, which is now, then I become, well, disabled in many ways.
After his recovery, Corvini started volunteering as an instructor for children with disabilities. Assistant guide Penelope Jones says Corvini's passion is a huge draw for aspiring climbers.
People love Armando. Everyone loves Armando. He loves climbing. It's infectious. Some people are kind of afraid of getting old, but I always think if I'm old and like Armando, then that would be great.
It's the kind of attitude that could usher in the next generation of climbers. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A community in Maryland rallied to help a local animal shelter this week. The shelter made an urgent call for foster homes after its air conditioning suddenly failed. due to a mechanical issue. Here are the details on that.
The breakdown happened during an extreme heat wave, putting dogs and cats at risk. Local media reported temperatures in the facility had quickly risen to 83 degrees.
And inside the building, as temperatures started to rise, so did our humidity. And animals, dogs and cats particularly, they use the air to cool themselves. And if the air becomes hotter than what their body temperature is supposed to be, they can overheat really, really quickly. It can become a life and death situation.
The facility lost its air conditioning Monday morning, just as outside temperatures above 90 degrees settled over much of the eastern U.S.
And it was a pretty chaotic moment, and it was a very serious situation where we had to get these animals out of here as quickly as possible for their safety and well-being. Thankfully, we have a wonderful community who responded so quickly right away.
Just before noon Tuesday, the animal center said that cooling had been restored. Local media said that more than 40 animals were placed in temporary foster homes during the emergency. The facility houses 216 animals and has another 140 in local foster homes.
They can keep them short term. A couple of days can actually make a huge difference in the stress level and an animal's mental health. Or sometimes, if they choose to, they could keep them longer. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. However long, it's really up to the foster parents.
I think they even do like a meet and greet with some dogs. So once we decide which 2 or 3 we'd like, we'll go and do the meet and greet with them and hopefully foster them for the summer.
The facility thanked the local community for the outpouring of support on its Instagram account.
Coming up, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard accuses some media of reporting selectively with leaked information. We have that and more when we come back.